Keep an eye out for the golden star that will appear on screen during the video. If you spot it, comment the time frame you saw it in. Get it right, and you'll get a shout out in our next video. Happy hunting! The city of Neo-Tokara gleamed under the celestial tapestry of the night sky, its towering skyscrapers bathed in a kaleidoscope of neon lights. Each building was etched with glowing runes, ancient symbols that pulsed gently, breathing life into the metropolis. Below, the streets buzzed with the Festival of Lights, an annual celebration that drew crowds from every corner of the city to marvel at the spectacle of technology harmonized with mysticism. Mira stood at the edge of the festival grounds, her gaze wandering over the throngs of revelers. Her hand brushed against the lightweight fabric of her apprentice robe, the emblem of the Light Weavers Guild embroidered with luminous thread on her chest. Despite the joyous uproar around her, a quiet apprehension knitted her brow. Today was more than a celebration. It was a testament to what she aspired to become, a master of light, capable of weaving it into marvelous creations. The aroma of spiced air wafted through the crowd, vendors calling out over the din, selling everything from glowing candies that fizzled on the tongue to intricate lamps that cast enchanted shadows. Myra's attention, however, was momentarily captured by an exhibit of holographic dancers twirling in sync with a haunting melody, their forms composed entirely of light. "Why so pensive, Mira? It's a party after all," teased a familiar voice. Turning, Mira found herself facing Lin, a fellow apprentice, whose grin was as bright as the displays illuminating the square. "Just thinking about the ceremony tomorrow," Mira replied, her voice barely a whisper over the clamor. "What if I mess up? What if my project doesn't work?" Lin looped her arm through Myra's, pulling her toward the heart of the festival. "You'll be brilliant. You always are. Just enjoy the night, will you?" As they delved deeper into the celebration, the central plaza unveiled the grand spectacle, the Emberstone. Encased in a crystal pedestal at the center of a fountain, the stone radiated a warm, golden glow, bathing onlookers in its soft light. It was said to be as old as the city itself, a source of infinite energy that had long powered Neo-Tokara's miraculous growth. Myra's eyes locked onto the stone. "It's beautiful, isn't it? To think one object can hold so much power and responsibility," Lin added, her tone sobering as she followed Myra's gaze. "They say the balance of the entire city rests in that glow." A sudden commotion at the edge of the plaza sliced through their conversation. Shouts erupted as a ripple of confusion swept through the crowd. Myra's instincts kicked in, propelling her toward the disturbance. As she moved, her mind raced. Is it a malfunction? Or something worse? The throng parted, and Mira came to a halt, her breath catching in her throat. The pedestal was empty, the Emberstone was gone. Panic hadn't yet taken hold of the crowd, most unaware of the significance of what had just happened. But Mira knew. The heart of Neo-Tokara had just been stolen. "Mira, what's going on?" Lin's voice trembled slightly, tinged with unease. "We have to find a guard now," Mira said, her voice firm, her earlier doubts washed away by a surge of adrenaline. As they turned to push through the crowd, Myra's thoughts were clear and sharp. "I need to fix this. I can fix this." The weight of the city's fate seemed suddenly, inexplicably tied to her own hands. As they ran, the festival lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced across the chaos unfolding. Neo-Tokara, the city of light and shadows, was about to be tested, and Mira, at the heart of it all, felt an unfamiliar resolve harden within her. The night was far from over, and her role in it was just beginning. Under the flickering lights, the panic that began as a whisper soon crescendoed into a roar as the reality of the missing Emberstones swept through the Festival of Lights. The city's heartbeat, the stone that powered dreams and lives, had vanished, and with it, a shadow seemed to drape over Neo-Tokara. Mira and Lin, breath short and quick, found themselves at the security pavilion, a sleek structure of glass and steel nestled beside the plaza. Guards, adorned in the cobalt blue of the city's protectorate, were already in motion, their faces etched with concern that mirrored the gravity of the theft. "We need to speak to someone in charge," Mira insisted, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. A senior guard, his badge shimmering under the erratic lighting, approached them. "What did you see?" he asked, his voice a calm anchor in the storm. Mira recounted everything, from the festival's jubilant beginnings to the abrupt disruption. As she spoke, her mind replayed the scene, searching for any detail she might have missed, a face, a movement, something that could be a clue. "Thank you," the guard said, nodding gravely. "We've already alerted the guilds. The council will want to speak with you both." As they were led through the throng, the festival now a backdrop to a growing unease, Myra's thoughts tangled with fear and a budding determination. Asterisk, this can't be happening. But if it is, I'm going to help fix it. Asterisk. The council's emergency chamber was a room rarely seen by the public, a place of deep deliberations and pivotal decisions. The walls were lined with the emblems of each guild, each symbol a testament to the city's diverse powers and responsibilities. The councilors, representing the highest echelons of Neo-Tokara's governance, gathered around the holographic map of the city, their expressions tense. As Mira and Lin entered, silence fell. A woman stepped forward, her robe embroidered with the intricate sigil of the High Technomancer. "Mira, Lin," she began, her voice both commanding and composed. "You are apprentices of the Light Weavers, are you not? Your mentor speaks highly of you. Tonight, we need more than just your testimony. We need your insight." Mira felt Lin squeeze her hand, a silent message of support. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before addressing the council. "The theft was no accident. It was planned precise. Whoever did this knew exactly when to strike, when the guards would be busiest," Mira explained. Her mind raced with possibilities, with theories that begged exploration. "Indeed," another counselor murmured, his face shadowed by concern. "The implications are severe. Without the Emberstone, our energy reserves will not last more than a few days. We must recover it swiftly." Discussion erupted around them, strategies debated and scouts dispatched. Mira listened, absorbing every word, every plan. It was clear that this crisis would ripple through every layer of Neo-Tokara, affecting every citizen, every street. As the meeting drew to a close, the High Technomancer turned to them once more. "We are authorizing you, under guidance, to assist in the investigation. Your fresh perspective might be what we need." Outside, as they left the chamber, the weight of their new responsibility settled on Myra's shoulders like a mantle. The city around them felt different now, the lights dimmer, the night deeper. As they walked back towards the plaza, Myra's resolve solidified. This was her city, her home. She would help bring back the light, not just to the skies, but to the hearts of all Neo-Tokarans. The night had indeed just begun, and as they moved through the shadowed streets, every light that flickered, every shadow that moved seemed to whisper secrets of the stolen heart of Neo-Tokara. Mira knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she also knew that within her lay the spark that might just rekindle the city's lost fire. In the quiet hours of the early morning, when the festival's lights had dimmed to a mere glimmer, and the city of Neo-Tokara had slipped into an uneasy slumber, Mira found herself back at the Lightweaver's Hall. The grand room, usually resonating with the hum of energy and the soft glow of practiced spells, now felt hollow, its magic tainted by the shadow of uncertainty that the theft of the Emberstone had cast over the city. Mira sat at her workstation, surrounded by scrolls and tech screens, the tools of her trade as an apprentice. Each piece buzzed with potential, but her thoughts were chaotic, clouded by the enormity of the task ahead. Where do we even start? She wondered, her fingers absently tracing the intricate circuits of a light panel. Lin, ever the source of pragmatic optimism, broke the silence. "We need a plan, Mira. We can't just wait for the council to figure this out. The city won't last long without the stone." Mira nodded, her resolve reigniting. You're right. Let's go over what we know. The thief knew exactly when to strike, which means they're familiar with the festival's security protocols. Someone inside, maybe? As they delved into the digital archives, searching for any anomaly in the security feeds, a pattern began to emerge. There were gaps, tiny lapses in the coverage, cleverly concealed but unmistakable to a trained eye. Someone had orchestrated this with meticulous care. The screen flickered, and a map of the city's power grid appeared, lines interconnecting like a web of light. Myra's eyes were drawn to several nodes that flashed intermittently, sectors of the city where power fluctuations had been most severe in the past months. Mira, look at this, Lynn pointed out, her finger tapping on one of the flashing nodes. These fluctuations coincide with the festival preparations. Could there be a connection? Mira leaned closer, her mind racing with possibilities. Maybe the thief used these fluctuations as cover, a way to mask their movements. We should check these areas. As dawn broke over Neo-Tokara, the two apprentices ventured out into the city, their steps quiet against the cobblestones. The streets, usually vibrant with the daily hustle, now whispered secrets of unease and suspicion. Mira felt the weight of every glance, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Asterisk, do they think we can do this? Are we up to the task? Asterisk. Their first stop was a small substation near the eastern sector, where the largest power dip had been recorded. The place was deserted, the usual crew of technicians nowhere in sight. Myra's heart thumped louder with each step she took inside the dimly lit facility. Searching through the maintenance logs, Mira discovered a series of unauthorized accesses in the days leading up to the festival. Someone was here, tampering with the equipment, she muttered, her voice a mix of anger and awe at the audacity of the plan. It's more than just theft, Lynn added, her eyes wide with realization. It's sabotage. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly fitting together, but with each discovery, the danger seemed to grow. Whoever was behind this had not just stolen a stone, they had shaken the very foundation of Neo-Tokara. As they prepared to leave the substation, Mira paused, her gaze falling on a small, overlooked terminal in the corner. On a hunch, she powered it up, her hands moving deftly over the controls. The screen lit up, revealing a series of coded messages that had been hidden in the system's back end. This could be it, Lynn. This could lead us to them, Mira whispered, a surge of adrenaline clearing the fog of doubt. The coded messages were a trail, and she was determined to follow it, wherever it might lead. Together, they stepped out into the rising sun, the city stretching out before them, its shadows receding but its mysteries deepening. Neo-Tokara was counting on them, and Mira felt that responsibility tighten around her like a coil. We will bring the Emberstone back, she promised silently. For the city, for all of us. The sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting sharp silhouettes against the cobblestone streets of Neo-Tokara. Mira and Lynn followed the coded trail from the substation, each step taking them deeper into the older parts of the city where the shadows of Neo-Tokara's industrial beginnings still lingered. Their journey led them to an abandoned district known as the Hollows, once a thriving hub of artisans and tech tinkers, now a shadow of its former self, its buildings crumbling, its streets empty. The air here was thick with the musty scent of decay, but beneath it lay a faint pulse of energy, a whisper of the district's forgotten power. This place, it's like stepping into another time, Lynn murmured, her eyes scanning the derelict facades. Mira nodded, her gaze fixed on the tablet that displayed their map and the coded messages. According to this, we're close. The signal's strongest here. She pointed to an old warehouse, its doors padlocked, its windows boarded up. The two approached cautiously, the crunch of gravel underfoot breaking the haunting silence. Mira, with a deft flick of her wrist, summoned a small orb of light that danced above their heads, casting eerie shadows as they moved. Reaching the warehouse, Mira examined the padlock. Her fingers traced the runes inscribed on its surface, a complex locking spell that was more than it seemed. This lock, it's newer than the warehouse. Someone really doesn't want us, or anyone, getting in. Lynn pulled a set of lockpicks from her pocket, a wry smile playing on her lips. Good thing we're not just anyone. As Lynn worked the lock, Myra's thoughts wandered. The coded messages, the sabotaged substation, and now this hidden warehouse, all threads woven into a larger design. Asterisk, who are you? What are you planning? Asterisk, she pondered, her mind a whirlwind of theories and questions. With a soft click, the lock gave way, and the heavy doors groaned as they pushed them open. Inside, the warehouse was vast and shadowy, filled with rows of dust-covered machinery and stacks of crates. A faint glow emanated from the back, drawing them deeper into the labyrinth of forgotten technology. As they navigated through the maze, Myra's light orb flickered, casting fluctuating light that made the shadows twist and turn unnaturally. Her heart raced, not just from the thrill of the hunt, but from a growing sense of foreboding. Finally, they reached the source of the glow, a terminal that pulsed with a soft blue light, active despite the decay surrounding it. Myra approached, her fingers hovering over the interface. This is it. This terminal is still connected to the city's mainframe. Someone's been using it to monitor everything. The screen flickered to life at her touch, revealing layers of data, surveillance feeds, energy consumption patterns, even confidential communications between the guilds. It was all here, a spider's web of information with the Emberstone at its center. Lynn leaned over Myra's shoulder, her voice low. Look at this. There's a log of communications. It's coded, but if we can crack it, we might finally understand who's behind this and why. Myra's eyes were resolute, her mind already threading through the digital labyrinth. Let's decode it. We need answers, and I have a feeling they're all here. As they set to work, the warehouse around them seemed to close in, the shadows deepening as if to guard the secrets it held. But Myra was undeterred, her spirit kindled by the challenge, driven by the promise she had made to her city. Asterisk, I will bring the Emberstone back. No matter what lies in the shadows, I will bring our light back. Asterisk. In the dimly lit confines of the abandoned warehouse, Myra and Lynn's fingers flew over the illuminated keyboard, their eyes scanning the flickering screen as they worked to decrypt the web of encrypted messages. The musty air was thick around them, filled with the smell of old oil and metal, but the promise of uncovering secrets lent a charged energy to the atmosphere. Got something! Lynn exclaimed softly, her voice a mixture of excitement and tension. On the screen, lines of code began to unravel, revealing coherent text. It looks like a series of communications between the thief and someone else, someone high up. Myra leaned in, her focus narrowing. The messages spoke of plans and preparations, of alliances and promises of power. They were planning this for months, she murmured, her mind racing as she pieced together the betrayal woven into the city's very fabric. And look here, this isn't just about stealing the Emberstone. It's about control, about reshaping Neo-Tokara. The implications of their discovery were profound. The network of deceit was broader than they had imagined, implicating members of various guilds and even some within the council. With each decrypted message, the gravity of their situation deepened. Asterisk, how deep does this go? How many are involved? Asterisk, Myra thought, a sense of dread creeping into her resolve. We need to take this to the council, Lynn said, her voice steady despite the shadows that flickered across her face from the orb of light above. Myra hesitated, her trust shaken. Can we trust them all? We don't know how far this conspiracy goes. Lynn nodded, her expression grim. Then we'll need to be careful about whom we trust. But Myra, we can't do this alone. This is bigger than us. With the encrypted data now on their portable device, they carefully extinguished the light and exited the warehouse. The city outside seemed different to Myra now. Every shadow could be an ally or an enemy, every light a signal or a snare. As they made their way back towards the more populated areas of Neo-Tokara, Myra's thoughts were a whirlwind. Her commitment to the city was unwavering, but the path forward was clouded with uncertainty. Asterisk, who can I really trust? How do we fight an enemy that's hidden in plain sight? Asterisk. They decided to visit Myra's mentor, Master Tolan, a senior member of the Lightweavers who had always guided her with wisdom and kindness. If there was anyone within the guilds whom they could trust, it was him. Arriving at his workshop, a cozy building filled with glowing instruments and soft, pulsating lights, they found Master Tolan bent over a complex array of light circuits. At their entrance, he looked up, his wise eyes reflecting a mix of concern and curiosity. "Mira Lin, what brings you here at this hour?" he asked, his voice warm yet tinged with fatigue. Mira took a deep breath, the portable device heavy in her pocket. "Master Tolan, we've uncovered something big. There's a conspiracy, and it involves the Ember Stone." Master Tolan's expression shifted from curiosity to alarm. "Show me," he said simply. As they relayed their findings, showing him the decrypted messages and explaining their implications, Master Tolan listened intently, his brow furrowed. When they finished, he was silent for a long moment, then he sighed deeply. "This is grave news indeed," he finally said. "But you have done well to uncover it. Now, more than ever, Neo-Tokara needs your light, your courage." With Master Tolan's advice and support, they planned their next moves. They would need to approach the council carefully, armed not just with their findings but with a strategy to root out the conspiracy without tipping off their enemies. As they left Master Tolan's workshop, the first light of dawn was touching the spires of Neo-Tokara. Mira felt the weight of her city's fate on her shoulders, but also a flicker of hope. With truth as their beacon, they would illuminate the darkest corners of treachery. For Neo-Tokara, she thought resolutely, for all of us. The early morning light bathed Neo-Tokara in a deceptive calm as Mira and Lin made their way to the towering council hall, the heart of the city's governance. The structure stood like a sentinel over the metropolis, its spires reaching into the sky, casting long shadows over the streets below. As they entered the hall, the grandeur of the vast foyer with its high ceilings and intricate mosaics felt overwhelming, yet hollow, given the burden of knowledge they carried. The whispers of their soft conversation echoed slightly, blending with the distant sounds of the city waking up. "We must tread carefully," Mira murmured to Lin as they ascended the marble staircase leading to the council chambers. "Every word, every piece of evidence must lead them to the truth, without alerting those who are part of this plot." Lin nodded, her eyes scanning their surroundings, ever vigilant. "We stick to the facts. Let the data speak for itself." Reaching the top, they were greeted by Councillor Joran, a seasoned politician known for his wise but stern demeanor. "Mira Lin," he greeted them, his voice echoing slightly in the vast hallway. "Master Tolan informed me you have something urgent to discuss. This way, please." They were led into a smaller, more intimate chamber, where several council members were already seated, their expressions ranging from curious to concerned. The air was thick with anticipation and the subtle scent of the morning's fresh ink and polished wood. Mira stepped forward, the weight of the portable device in her pocket grounding her. She began confidently. "Council members, we have uncovered significant evidence of a conspiracy involving the theft of the Ember Stone and plans to seize control of Neo-Tokara." The room tensed, a few members exchanged glances, their interest piqued or perhaps nervous. Mira continued, detailing the encrypted communications and their findings at the warehouse, Lin projecting the decrypted messages onto the wall for all to see. As the evidence unfolded, the atmosphere shifted palpably. The intrigue of a few council members turned into visible alarm. Councillor Joran, ever the composed leader, raised his hand to pause the presentation. "This is a grave accusation," he stated, his gaze sweeping over the evidence. "These implications could shake the very foundations of our city. Are you certain of these findings?" "Absolutely," Lin interjected, her voice firm. "We've triple-checked everything. The data doesn't lie. Counselor Joran nodded slowly, then turned to his peers. We must act, but with caution. If this conspiracy runs as deep as it seems, rash moves could tip our hand. Mira felt a flicker of frustration at his cautious approach, but understood the stakes. We propose an internal investigation, led by trusted members only. We must root out this corruption from within, discreetly. The council murmured in agreement, the decision weighing heavily on them all. Counselor Joran then addressed Mira and Lin directly. Your bravery and dedication have brought this to light. We will need your continued assistance. You are now part of this investigation. As they left the chamber, Mira felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had taken the first step in exposing the conspiracy, but the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. Walking back down the marble staircase, Mira's thoughts were a tumult of strategies and scenarios. Lin, sensing her friend's unease, leaned in slightly. We did it, Mira. It's out there now. Yes, Mira replied, her voice low, but resolute. Now the real work begins. We have to see this through, not just for us, but for all of Neo-Tokara. The city outside seemed to pulse with a newfound intensity as they exited the council hall. Mira felt the weight of their mission. They were no longer just apprentices, but guardians of the city's future. With each step, her determination solidified. Whatever shadows they had to chase, whatever light they had to shine, they would restore Neo-Tokara to its rightful course. The sun was high over Neo-Tokara, casting stark shadows between the buildings as Mira and Lin walked the path back to their guild. The city buzzed around them, oblivious to the undercurrents of turmoil that surged just beneath its vibrant surface. The weight of the council's trust, and the burden of the secret investigation, lay heavy on their shoulders. Every step we take from now is part of a bigger game, Mira mused aloud, her gaze fixed on the moving shadows. One wrong move and we could alert those we're trying to catch. Lin nodded, her usually bright demeanor shadowed by the gravity of their mission. We'll need to be strategic. Surveillance, gathering more data, maybe even some undercover work. It's going to take everything we've got. Their first stop was the Lightweaver's Hall, where they set up a discreet operations base. Using a secluded back room filled with old archives and less used equipment, they began to lay out their plan. Mira initiated a secure connection to the city's data network, ensuring their actions remained hidden from prying eyes. We need to monitor communications between the suspected conspirators, Mira explained as she typed rapidly on the keyboard, setting up filters and alerts on specific keywords and phrases. Anything unusual must be flagged immediately. Lin, meanwhile, was setting up a map of the city with pins marking the locations tied to the encrypted messages they'd uncovered. We'll track their movements too. If they meet, we'll know about it. As the afternoon waned into evening, Master Tolan visited their makeshift command center. His presence brought a sense of calm, his confidence in them clear. You are doing important work, he affirmed. But remember, the truth often comes at a cost. Be prepared for what you might find. Mira felt a chill at his words, the implications clear. She nodded, her resolve hardening. We're ready, Master Tolan. For the city. Night fell over Neo-Tokara, and the city's lights flickered to life, casting a glow against the darkening sky. Mira and Lin, now deep into their surveillance operation, watched as their screens lit up with streams of data. It was a silent ballet of lights and shadows, each flicker potentially heralding a breakthrough or a setback. Suddenly, one of the alerts went off, a coded message intercepted from a high-ranking guild member. Mira leaned in, decoding it swiftly. It's a meeting, she whispered, excitement tinged with anxiety in her voice. Tonight. They don't know we're onto them. Lin's eyes sparkled with determination. Let's prepare. We'll need disguises. If we can get close enough to record their conversation. They moved with practiced ease, disguising their appearances and preparing their recording devices. As they set out into the night, The streets of Neo-Tokara hummed with the usual nightlife, completely unaware of the conspiracy threading through its core. The meeting location was an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city, away from the prying eyes of the central districts. Mira and Lin, cloaked in the shadows, found a vantage point near a cracked window. Inside, several figures gathered, their voices low but urgent. Myra's device picked up every word, the gravity of their plans slowly unfolding. It was not just the control of Neo-Tokara at stake, but the potential to reshape the power structures of the entire region. As they recorded the meeting, Myra's heart pounded with the realization of the enormity of their discovery. Asterisk, this is bigger than we thought. But we have them now, asterisk, she thought. With the recording secured, they slipped away into the night, the weight of their evidence both a shield and a sword. The city that never truly slept seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the dawn that would bring either salvation or ruin. Back at their base, Mira and Lin prepared to bring their findings to the council. The next day's meeting would be decisive, the culmination of their efforts and perhaps the beginning of a new era for Neo-Tokara. As the first light of dawn crept across the city, Mira looked out over Neo-Tokara, her city, her home. Whatever came next, she knew they had changed the course of its history. For Neo-Tokara, she whispered, a silent promise to see this through to the end. Dawn tinged the skyline of Neo-Tokara with hues of orange and gold as Mira and Lin made their way back to the council hall, the evidence from last night secure and burning a hole in their resolve. The city was waking up, its citizens oblivious to the decisive events that were about to unfold, events that could alter the fabric of their society. The recording last night, it's more than enough, right? Lin's voice carried a mix of hope and anxiety as they approached the towering structure that housed the city's governance. Mira nodded firmly, the weight of their discovery steadying her nerves. It's irrefutable. With this, we can peel back the layers of corruption that have shadowed Neo-Tokara. Her mind was clear, her purpose stronger than ever, yet a silent tremor of apprehension stirred within her. The consequences of today's actions would ripple far and wide. Inside the council hall, the air was charged with a palpable tension. Mira and Lin were swiftly ushered into the inner sanctum where the council awaited, their faces a mosaic of concern, curiosity, and in some, a hint of fear. Councillor Joran greeted them with a solemn nod. Mira, Lin, this is a pivotal moment. Please present your findings. With the room's eyes upon them, Lin connected the recording device to the hall's audio system, and soon the voices from last night filled the room. Each word from the conspirators, discussing plans for power grabs and the manipulation of the city's resources, echoed off the chamber walls, casting a somber mood over the assembled leaders. As the recording played, Mira watched the council members closely, noting their reactions. Some faces registered shock and outrage, others, a dawning realization of betrayal. When the tape ended, a heavy silence hung over the room. Councillor Joran was the first to speak, his voice grave. This is a betrayal of everything Neo-Tokara stands for. We must act swiftly and decisively to restore trust and order. A younger councillor, Vera, stood up, her expression fierce. We need to clean our ranks. It's clear this rot runs deep. How do we start? Mira stepped forward, her resolve manifest in her voice. We have the identities of those involved. It's time to bring them to justice, to show that no one is above the law. Councillor Joran nodded in agreement. Prepare the arrest warrants. Today, we reclaim the integrity of Neo-Tokara. As the council mobilized, Mira and Lin were enveloped in a flurry of activity. Security forces were dispatched, and within hours, the conspirators were brought in, their schemes laid bare for all to see. The city buzzed with the news, a mix of shock and relief palpable in the streets. Later that day, Mira stood beside Lin at the top of the council hall, looking out over the city they had fought so hard to protect. The chaos of the morning had given way to a cautious optimism. The corrupt had been rooted out, but the path to rebuilding trust would be long and fraught. Mira, we did it, Lin said softly, her voice carrying a note of triumph and weariness. "We did," Mira agreed, her eyes scanning the horizon. "But this is just the beginning. Rebuilding trust, ensuring transparency, the real work starts now." Counselor Joran joined them, his gaze also on the horizon. "Your courage has given Neo-Tokara a second chance. For that, you have my thanks." Mira smiled, her thoughts turning to the future. "Thank you, Counselor. We believe in this city. We'll do everything we can to protect it." As the sun set over Neo-Tokara, casting long shadows and bathing the city in a golden glow, Mira felt a profound connection to her home. The battle they had fought was not just for power or justice, but for the soul of Neo-Tokara. And as the night claimed the day, Mira was ready to face whatever challenges came next, for her city, for her people, for the future they all shared. The new day dawned clear and bright over Neo-Tokara, the morning sun casting a soft glow on the city's rejuvenated spirit. The streets thrummed with a cautious but hopeful energy, a collective sigh of relief breathed by its citizens after the turmoil of the previous days. In the heart of the city, the council hall buzzed with a flurry of activity, its chambers hosting a series of urgent meetings and discussions about the future of governance. Mira and Lin, now recognized as champions of the city's integrity, were central to these conversations. "Mira, you've set a new precedent for transparency and accountability," Counselor Vera said as they prepared for the day's session. Her voice carried a mix of admiration and determination. "We need to build on this momentum to ensure our governance is beyond reproach." Mira responded with a nod, feeling the weight of her new role. "We need stringent checks and balances. Perhaps a new oversight committee could help monitor the council's decisions," she suggested, her mind working through the logistics of such an endeavor. Lin, ever the pragmatic one, chimed in. "And regular public reporting. Let's not forget how powerful information can be when it's in the open." The council members agreed, and plans were quickly set into motion. As the day progressed, a new framework for governance began to take shape, crafted from the lessons of the recent crisis. Outside the council hall, Mira took a moment to gaze out at the city. Neo-Tokara seemed to shimmer under the morning light, its citizens going about their day with a little more ease. In the markets, vendors called out their wares, while children played in the streets, their laughter a balm to the city's recent wounds. "Mira, thinking about the next steps?" Lin asked, joining her at the window. "Yes," Mira replied, her eyes reflective. "It's about more than just fixing what was broken. It's about steering Neo-Tokara toward a future where this can never happen again." As they spoke, a group of young apprentices from various guilds approached, their faces bright with curiosity and respect. They were the new generation, the future leaders and innovators of Neo-Tokara. One of the apprentices, a young woman with bright eyes and a confident stance, spoke up. "We've been following what's been happening. How can we help? We want to make sure our city never faces such a threat again." Mira smiled, encouraged by their enthusiasm. "Stay informed, stay involved. Governance is not just the responsibility of those in power, it's the duty of every citizen." Inspired, the apprentices nodded, their determination clear. They dispersed, a buzz of excited conversation floating back to Mira and Lin. "That's how we ensure the future of Neo-Tokara," Lin said, watching the apprentices go. "By empowering the next generation to care, to take action." Mira agreed. "Today, we healed a fracture, but the real strength will come from building a community that holds each other accountable." The sun climbed higher, bathing the council hall in light. Inside, the voices of council members, citizens, and activists mingled, a symphony of governance and cooperation. Plans for new educational programs, community outreaches, and transparent technology initiatives filled the agenda, painting a vibrant picture of Neo-Tokara's path forward. As the day wore on, the initial phases of the new governance structures were ratified, an air of celebration palpable among the city's leadership and citizens alike. Neo-Tokara was not just rebuilding, It was rebirthing itself from the ashes of its old vulnerabilities. Standing together, Mira and Lin watched the sunset from the top of the council hall, the city sprawling before them. The challenges ahead were many, but the foundation was strong. For Neo-Tokara, Mira whispered again, this time not as a promise, but as a declaration of ongoing commitment. For all of us, Lin added, her voice firm. As the stars began to twinkle above, the lights of Neo-Tokara glimmered below, a testament to the city's resilience and the unyielding spirit of its people. As the new governance structures began to take root in Neo-Tokara, the city entered a period of profound transformation. Mira and Lin, once mere apprentices, now found themselves at the forefront of shaping their city's destiny. From the shadows of conspiracy, they had emerged as beacons of hope and change. The council hall, a historic symbol of authority and power, had become the center of innovation and reformation. Under the high, arched ceilings of the council chamber, Mira addressed the gathering of the city's newly formed oversight committee. Her voice echoed with authority and conviction as she outlined the implementation of the new checks and balances system. Transparency is the foundation upon which we will rebuild trust, Mira stated, scanning the room filled with members from various sectors of the city. Every decision, every action taken by this council will be visible to those whom we serve. We are accountable to you, the citizens of Neo-Tokara. Beside her, Lin presented the new digital platform that would allow citizens real-time access to council decisions and spending. Engagement is key. This platform isn't just for oversight, it's a tool for participation. We invite every citizen to monitor, comment, and question. Your involvement is crucial to our success. The response was overwhelmingly positive, the air charged with enthusiastic dialogue and forward-thinking ideas. It was a stark contrast to the secretive, closed-door meetings of the past, and a testament to how much Neo-Tokara had changed in just a few short weeks. Later that day, Mira and Lin walked through one of Neo-Tokara's bustling marketplaces, now vibrant with the midday rush. The streets were alive with the chatter of vendors and shoppers, the air filled with the sense of street food and fresh produce. Here, the pulse of the city was palpable, a rhythm of life that felt more vibrant than ever. Remember when we were worried about what we'd find at the end of our investigation? Lin asked, her tone reflective as they paused to watch a group of street performers. Mira smiled, looking around at the lively scene. I was afraid of what it might mean for us, for Neo-Tokara. But seeing this, feeling the energy of the city, it reminds me why we fought so hard. Their stroll took them past a small park where a group of children were engaged in a community art project, their small hands painting a mural that depicted Neo-Tokara's journey from darkness to light. The children's laughter and the colorful splashes of paint on the wall were symbols of the new chapters being written in the city's history. It's about them, isn't it? Lin said softly, gesturing towards the children. We're building a city where they can dream without fear. Yes, Mira agreed, watching a little girl dip her brush into a bright blue paint. A city that stands as a testament to what can be achieved when people come together, not just in crisis but in every aspect of life. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows and bathing the city in a golden hue, Mira and Lin returned to the council hall for a final meeting of the day. This time, the session was open to the public, and the gallery was packed with citizens eager to engage and participate in the governance of Neo-Tokara. The meeting was a vibrant exchange of ideas and feedback, a dynamic interaction between the council and the community. As each citizen stood to speak, it became clear that Neo-Tokara was not just being governed, it was being nurtured by its people, growing stronger and more resilient with each shared decision. Later, as the council chamber emptied and the last of the attendees departed, Mira stood by a window overlooking the cityscape. The twinkling lights below mirrored the stars above, and Neo-Tokara seemed to hum with a quiet but unbreakable strength. We've done well, but the journey continues, Mira reflected, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the first stars of the evening were beginning to shine. Lin joined her, her presence a steady comfort. Together, Mira. For Neo-Tokara, for the future. The echoes of the day's discussions faded into the night, but the resolve they carried sparked brightly in the hearts of all who believed in Neo-Tokara's new dawn. This was not the end of their story, but a beginning, the start of an era marked by unity, courage, and the relentless pursuit of a better tomorrow. As Neo-Tokara settled into the rhythm of its renewed governance, the city began to flourish in ways that had once seemed like distant dreams. Marketplaces that had been quiet were now bustling hubs of commerce and laughter. Parks were alive with families and festivals, and the once grim council hall was now a vibrant center of civic engagement. Mira walked through the city's central plaza, her strides confident yet contemplative. The changes around her were palpable. New art installations celebrated local culture and history, and community gardens filled spaces once left barren. Every corner of Neo-Tokara spoke of a community reborn, of a city that had not just survived a crisis but had thrived beyond it. Thinking about the next project? Lin's voice pulled Mira from her thoughts as she joined her on the walk. Yes, Mira replied, a slight smile playing on her lips. It's incredible, isn't it? To see how much has changed, how much we've achieved. It is, Lin agreed, looking around with a sense of pride. And to think, this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do. Their conversation drifted towards future initiatives. Plans for a new research and development center were underway, aiming to harness the innovative talents of Neo-Tokara's citizens and focus on sustainable technologies. Additionally, Mira had proposed the foundation of a civic education program, designed to empower citizens from all walks of life to participate actively in governance. As they approached the newly renovated community center, they were greeted by the vibrant sounds of a local youth orchestra, their melodies filling the air with hope and energy. Inside, a photography exhibition showcased the city's journey from its darkest days to its current resurgence. This exhibit, it's a reminder of where we've come from, a way to document our history so future generations can learn from it. Mira noted as they viewed the powerful images. Lin nodded, her gaze lingering on a photo of them during the crisis, unaware it had been captured. It also shows how far we've come. It's important to remember both the struggles and the triumphs. The day faded into evening, and the community center began to fill with citizens attending a forum Mira and Lin had organized. It was an open discussion on the city's future, a chance for every voice to be heard. As the forum commenced, Mira took her place at the front, not as a leader, but as a facilitator of ideas. We are here to listen, to collaborate, and to dream together. Mira addressed the gathering. Neo-Tokara is our home, and its future is in our hands. What kind of city do we want to build for ourselves and for the generations that follow? The discussion that unfolded was lively and passionate, filled with suggestions ranging from environmental initiatives to cultural festivals. Each contribution was noted, the community's vision for Neo-Tokara taking shape with each word spoken. As the forum concluded, Mira and Lin stood together, watching the crowd disperse, the buzz of inspired conversation echoing in the air. We're not just rebuilding, Lin. We're reimagining, Mira mused, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the streetlights. And there's no one I'd rather be reimagining with. Lin responded, her voice filled with warmth and camaraderie. Walking back to the council hall under the starlit sky, Mira felt a profound connection to the city pulsing around her. Neo-Tokara was more than just structures and policies. It was its people, their hopes, and their dreams. At the steps of the council hall, Mira paused, looking up at the stars. For Neo-Tokara, she whispered into the night, a vow that felt as vast as the sky above. For all of us, Lin echoed, her words a promise to the future. As they entered the hall, the light from inside spilled out into the darkness, a symbol of Neo-Tokara itself, a beacon of light, hope, and endless possibilities, ever radiant, ever resilient. Did you spot the golden star in today's video? If you did, make sure to comment the time you saw it to be mentioned in our next video. Thank you for sharing a moment of your day with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps a lot. If you don't, well, I'll still love you. Thanks for stopping by.